Great, thank you.
Lovely stuff, thank you. All right. Exactly.
Dan, it's Alex from Planning. How you doing? Good.
Yeah, I'm alright.
Are you doubling up as joint us and photographer?
We've upgraded ourselves, we've really overstated our importance.
This is quite a venue.
It is, bloody great. That's
So, expecting any, what are you sort of looking for?
I hope he I hope they take questions.
Yeah, same really.
Good morning, everyone. Could you please take your seats? Could you please take your seats? Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
They just hate me.
Okay, yeah.
Brennan? You not got to the front. Yeah, so someone else want to jump there, and I get 2 gear over here, and then, yeah, so anywhere where you think there's you want to sit up there? Yeah, you can sit there.
What time will we start?
Is that one free? Oh, yeah.
Hey mate, how are you?
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Do you want to just take a seat here, please?
Yeah, no, tomorrow.
At the park. Because the thing is, when I was coming here, there was one car on the corner.
That's like easy. Got there, it's mostly private parking, so there was no spaces. Yeah. So I had to park about a 12-minute walk away at some leisure centre. You know what, bro? When I saw the differential between how long it was going to take to get train and how it was a half-an-hour drive. No, but that's why I checked beforehand, and I saw that there was a parking space. I was like, okay, calm. But yeah, I can't lie. Got did that. I just turned a 12-minute walk into a 5-minute walk. That's a.
Hey Sam, how are you? Doing well, thank you.
We'll definitely get one. What are you saying? Everybody good, yeah? Excited to be here? Early in the morning? Well, it's not early anymore, but like... I can't lie. What is it with Paris and always like my day off? It's always my day off. Wake up? Yeah, you were lacking. That's the thing as well. It's like if I drive, when I wake up, I can hold how I look. I told you, I just turned a 12-minute walk up to 5 in dress shoes. You know, construction site is interesting. Never say they don't. I was like, yeah, I do not feel sick at all. Bro. No, Breno was telling me no, the thing is, it's always like a mission. Thank you. It's tough, man. Funny thing is, it's got to be a tough late day as well. I've got to go back home, come back to South Lake. Hey, Reese.
Good morning, everybody. Can I start by introducing myself? I am Fiona Fletcher-Smith. I'm Chief Exec of L&Q Group, and you'll see our signs next to Berkeley Homes here this morning. I'm also the chair of the G15 Housing Association Group, and we are, laughingly, the 11 largest housing associations in London. Now, I think the fact that a housing association boss has been invited to kick off today's launch of the consultation shows how seriously the Mayor and his team are taking housing. Housing is constantly in the headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. London is one of Europe's wealthiest cities, but this morning, 1 in 21 children woke up in temporary accommodation. Our borough leaders are having to find £4 million per day to pay the cost of temporary accommodation, and much of that accommodation is far from temporary. And between January and March this year, the coldest months of the year, 4,500 Londoners slept on our streets. Generation Rent also tells us that if you are a hospital porter and you want to live within easy travelling distance of our main London teaching hospitals, you will have to pay 94% of your earnings just to keep a roof over your head. We see our inner London boroughs being forced to close schools as Londoners are forced through housing shortage and expensive housing to put off life decisions like having children, being forced to move out of our capital. The G15 group has seen new housing starts drop by 66% in the last 2 years. We built or started just 4,500 homes in the last 2 years, as opposed to 13,700 2 years ago. But you know what? Doom and gloom isn't going to get us out of this problem. There are a range of solutions, and we finally have a government in Westminster who understand that we are in a crisis. They understand that housing can be a core driver for growth. They are proving that they can get things done. This week alone, we've had 2 historic trade agreements with the US and India. And next month's spending review, we will have an opportunity to really get the country building again. And that's a plea as well, by the way, as a suggestion. Nowhere needs homes more desperately than our capital city. And I'm delighted to see the Mayor of London making this a top priority and putting housing at the heart of the new London plan. There will be a need for some very frank conversations about where we build these new homes, but I believe that Londoners are YIMBYs. Yes, in my backyard. We're not a city of NIMBYs. And I believe that Londoners are ready for that serious debate about where our housing goes. Now, standing here today in Kidbrooke Village, we can see that not all new development needs to be a concrete jungle. Done right, housing and nature can coexist and live well together. But the London Plan is essentially a land use planning document, and I've had the privilege over the last 20 years to be involved in a number of London plans, alterations to the London Plan, further alterations to the London Plan, so I know how important a document it is. It's a plan that will seek to guide how we grow and flex as a city and how we provide a city for all Londoners. A city that provides places to live and grow, places to make and manufacture, places to come together and enjoy the rich diversity of our city. But as a planning document, we also need to be careful not to ask too much of it. But as a signal from the Mayor, this is a key announcement today. Launching this consultation is about the Mayor saying that he is brave enough to have the conversations about where we need to build housing and how important housing is to our capital. And I am proud that we have a Mayor who will not shy away from those tough conversations. But first, I'm delighted to introduce the leader of the wonderful Royal Borough of Greenwich, where we are today, Councillor Anthony Okereke. Anthony.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us here, and welcome to Greenwich. We're stood here on the site of the third biggest employer in the borough, Berkeley Homes, who are building thousands of new homes and providing apprenticeships and jobs and growth for the local economy here in Greenwich. As the leader of the Royal Borough of Greenwich, I know all too well how challenging the housing crisis has been for our residents. I hear it every day, and that's why I'm proud of the London-leading, award-winning council house building scheme, Greenwich Builds Programme, one of the most ambitious council house building schemes in the country. We're providing life-changing homes, putting a roof over Londoners' heads that are quality, sustainable, and genuinely affordable. And a big thanks to the Mayor and the Deputy Mayors for ensuring that this programme is well funded and funded in the way it's needed. It wouldn't have been possible without him and his progressive innovation and leadership. The Mayor has prioritised tackling the housing crisis and has a clear record of scaling up house building, including delivering much-needed surge in council house building. But as we all know too well, he's had one hand tied behind his back. Following 14 years of a conservative chaos government, underfunding and mismanagement, we continue to see rises in rents and mortgages spiralling. Houses are unaffordable for those who grew up here, and it's too hard for too many people to get a foot on the housing ladder. Councils are having to find roughly £4 million a day for temporary accommodation. That has to end. I'm proud to say here in Greenwich, we are leading the way in reducing our reliance on temporary accommodation, having cut the use of hotels by 84%. We now have just 3 families in hotels. That's the difference a Labour progressive council can make for those who are suffering from this housing crisis. We know that bold measures are needed to tackle and help fix London's housing crisis. That's why we're here today, for the Mayor to continue his progressive and innovation vision to fix the housing crisis with the support of London councils. I'm delighted to welcome Sadiq to Greenwich and his team, and I'd like to thank him for his leadership on this issue. And I know I speak for everyone when I say we look forward to hearing about your future plans on how to build a better London for everyone. So please join me in welcoming to the stage the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan.
Well, good morning, everyone, on this glorious day. Anthony tells me the sun always shines in Greenwich. Thank you all for coming today to this great part of London and this impressive new housing development. Can I apologise to those who are scared of heights for the stairs on the way up to this bit. Thank you, Anthony, not only for that introduction and your analysis, but for everything you're doing for Greenwich and for dressing far more cooler than I could ever dress, Anthony. Your passion for housing and supporting the people of this borough shines through. I can also thank Fiona for her remarks, stark and thoughtful as ever. Fiona has over 30 years of experience in the housing sector, including, of course, working at City Hall. As well as telling me what to do on planning, Fiona, as you've heard, oversaw the delivery of the London plan. So she knows more than most, the vital importance of what we're talking about today. Lastly, can I thank Baroness Taylor, the Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Housing and Local Government, for being here this morning and representing the government. Let's please have a round of applause for Anthony, Fiona and Baroness Taylor. In so many ways, London is thriving. Our economy is growing. We're a global centre for finance, for fintech, for life sciences, and so much more. Many of London's businesses are booming, creating exciting new jobs. And we're at the cutting edge of innovation and tech, leading the way in the industries of tomorrow. For all these reasons and more, our city is recognised as one of the best places in the world, if not the best, to live, study and do business. Yet there's one issue that's holding us back more than any other, economically, socially and morally. I'm talking, of course, about the housing crisis, which has reached the point where it's at risk of tearing apart the very fabric of our city. My speech today is about how we can finally fix it and how we can weave together the new and bold solutions required to safeguard London's future. When I first became mayor in 2016, I was determined to get London building again after years of inaction. Instead of the luxury penthouse apartments that had been prioritised in the past, I set out to deliver the homes Londoners needed and could actually afford. 9 years later, I'm proud of the progress we've made. This includes hitting the government target of 116,000 new, genuinely affordable homes, using planning powers to increase the proportion of affordable housing in major developments, driving it up to 42%. Starting over 25,000 affordable homes in 2023 alone, the highest number since GLA records began. Completing more homes than at any time since the 1930s, and taking council house building to its highest level since the 1970s. But the truth is, we're still far from fixing the housing crisis. And in many ways, despite our positive record of delivery, it's worse than ever. Decades of national underinvestment in housing, combined with property prices far outpacing wage growth, means that a generation of Londoners are struggling to afford their rent, let alone buy a home. And this crisis has only been compounded by the previous government's economic legacy of high interest rates, the impact of Brexit, and spiralling construction costs. All of this means we have young professionals stuck in their childhood bedrooms for years on end, lifelong residents being priced out of their own neighbourhoods with their family and networks, key workers who often do night shift having to live further and further and further away from their workplace, Londoners having to endure cold, damp accommodation that, frankly speaking, isn't fit for human habitation, couples putting their life on hold because they can't find a home to start a family, or reluctantly moving out of the capital, and London primary schools closing because young families can't afford local properties. It breaks my heart. At the sharpest end of the crisis, Londoners are being forced to sleep rough on our streets. And shockingly, over 90,000 children are officially homeless, living in temporary accommodation. On average, this amounts to one homeless child in every classroom in our city. This isn't just a travesty, it's a stain on our society. So, the damage the housing crisis is causing is pervasive and profound. We simply can't let it continue, because at stake is the fundamental promise of our city. The promise that if you work hard in London, London will work for you. I benefited from this myself growing up, like millions of others of my generation. And it goes to the very heart of why I got into politics in the first place. To preserve the London promise for future generations, and to ensure that all Londoners, whatever their background, get the opportunities they need to reach their potential. What needs to be done? To meet demand, London needs 88,000 new homes per year for at least a decade. To put this into context, London has never built at this scale before. We've only ever got close once, nearly a century ago, when there was a housing boom in the 1930s. We clearly face an extraordinary challenge, but I'm determined to give everything we've got, with a radical step change in our approach. In the short term, this means accelerating delivery and unlocking developments that should have started already. At City Hall, we've heard loud and clear the concerns from house builders about the building safety regulator causing unnecessary delays. So we'll work with the government to do everything we can to speed up the process. I also want to see local planning becoming much more flexible and focused on rapidly increasing the rate of building. It's vital that boroughs take a pragmatic approach to get permissions granted, and when I don't see that happening, I'll use my calling powers as mayor. My message to house builders is this: I know how hard it is to build in London right now, and I want to work together to do what's needed to get more shovels in the ground over the weeks and months ahead. In the medium term, the development of the new London plan provides the opportunity for a new, bold approach. Part of the solution will be making better use of the land we have, taking opportunities to increase the density of housing developments, and working with councils and others to secure as many new homes as we can on brownfield sites. We have to be honest. We have to be honest with Londoners that this alone will not be sufficient to meet our needs. And that's why I'm announcing today that City Hall's new position will be to actively explore the release of parts of London's Greenbelt for development. Look, I know this is a contentious issue, so let me set out my reasoning and the wider context. London's Greenbelt is the largest in the UK, covering over 500,000 hectares. This makes it three times as big as London itself. Within the London boundary, we have the highest percentage of land designated as Greenbelt of any city in England, just over a fifth. The perception of many people is that it's all beautiful countryside, green and pleasant land, rich with wildlife. The reality is very different. The Greenbelt can often be low quality, poorly maintained, and not really enjoyed by Londoners. You know, only around 13% is made up of parks and areas that the public can access. 13%. So given the quality of parts of London's Greenbelt and the extent of the housing crisis, I believe the current position is wrong, out of date, and simply unsustainable. Development on carefully chosen areas of the Greenbelt, done in the right way, would allow us to unlock hundreds of thousands of new homes. This would not only go a long way to ending the housing crisis, but provide a huge boost to our economy. And as mayor, I'm not willing to ignore such a prospect just because it might be politically difficult. Not when the life chances of the next generation of Londoners is on the line. Of course, national funding for housing and transport infrastructure will play a pivotal role in our approach. Boosting transport links will enable higher density developments and help us to unlock the potential of planning reform. And that's why I'm working closely with the government on the investment London needs, including for the DLR to Thamesmead, the metroisation of London's rail lines and the Bakerloo line extension. And lastly, I want to make clear that I remain proud to be the greenest mayor London has ever had, and that I don't see what I'm announcing today as running contrary to this. We have a strong record of building low-carbon homes in London and helping to conserve and expand nature as part of our developments. Kidbrooke Village, where we are today, is a perfect example. Not only is this project delivering thousands of new affordable homes, but it's providing 35 hectares of new parkland. I can assure Londoners that we'll attach the right conditions to any release of the Greenbelt. Not only will we make sure that the best use of land happens, not only will we maximise the level of affordable and social housing, and not only will we produce high-quality, energy-efficient homes with good transport links, but we'll ensure we increase biodiversity and access to good quality green spaces. I want to forge a new consensus on planning that's fit for the 21st century, where we build the affordable housing and council homes we need, including on parts of the Greenbelt, at the same time as increasing biodiversity and the amount of land that's truly green and accessible to the public. In recent years, we've managed to create many new natural wonders in our city, from turning an old coal yard into a nature reserve in Camden to establishing new wetlands in Walthamstow. Overall, we've created or improved 900 hectares of green space since I became mayor. That's between 6,000 and 7,000 football pitches. We can take this experience and ensure we make London and the Greenbelt greener in everything we do. I urge environmental campaigners to join me in this effort. We've worked closely together on cleaning up our air, planting a record number of trees, rewilding London, and many other climate measures, often in the face of opposition. Now let's work together to achieve something truly ambitious, delivering the housing we need while enhancing the environment and making London greener than ever before. Let me finish with this. My position on the Greenbelt has changed because I believe this moment demands change. And I ask Londoners whose gut instincts might be against this solution to keep an open mind, to look at the latest evidence, and to think about the damage this housing crisis is doing, the misery it's causing, and the consequence of letting it drag down a generation of young people that we have a responsibility to lift up. Look, there are always going to be some NIMBYs, but we can't let conservatism, for the sake of conservatism, get in our way. It was Aristotle who said that people come together in cities in order to live and remain together in order to live the good life. What comes between too many Londoners and the good life is a good home. With a bold new approach, we can give people hope and the chance to thrive. We can build at pace. We can forge a new consensus on house building and the environment. And we can continue to build a fairer, greener London for everyone, keeping the London promise alive for generations to come. Thank you all very much.
My
My name's Jules Pipe, and I'm the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Regeneration, so it falls to me to oversee the production of the next London plan. So thank you very much, Sadiq, for setting out not only the challenge we must rise to if we're to deliver the homes that Londoners need, but also a bold new vision for how we can do this in a way that delivers for both people and nature. Today's launch of the Towards a New London Plan document kickstarts a 6-week consultation and engagement period where we are seeking to hear your comments, your feedback on a range of policy areas. I'd really like to encourage everyone out there to engage with us through that process as it will ensure that your voices, your ideas will inform the development of that plan. So that brings us to the close of today's launch event. I'd like to thank Fiona and Anthony and all our other speakers today. And I'd also, of course, like to thank all our friends and stakeholders for joining us as well. Last but not least, I'd like to thank the Berkeley Group for hosting us today as well and for their hospitality in this exciting and forward-looking location. To exit the site, please make your way down the stairs, follow the red carpet in the corner, and go back the way you came. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Sorry.